Alright, let's start. Hi everyone, it's me, and today let's make a Santa together. Let's go.
Do you actually know Santa, or do you know a Coca-Cola mascot? Today we're looking at the weird relationship between Santa Claus and the world's most famous soda, so we can learn whether we've been encouraging children to hop into the lap of a hashtag ad.
Food theory.
Hello Internet, welcome to Food Theory.
Hello Internet, welcome to Food Theory. Hi, let's start.
We hope that you hit that subscribe button. What do you think
Subscribe.
of when you think of Santa Claus? For me, I think of presents, I think warm feelings, weird dudes getting part-time pay at holiday malls, and also for some reason, a nice refreshing Coca-Cola. Over the last couple years, I've seen a lot of headlines like this, and this, and this, all claiming that Santa is an invention of the Coca-Cola company, and that my propensity for drinking Coke at holiday gatherings has nothing to do with thirst, and everything to do with my brainwashed Christmas nostalgia. I mean, he is dressed in red and white after all, kinda like a certain highly popular soda brand's logo. And Coca-Cola does use him very heavily this time of year, so what's going on? What is the relationship between Santa and Coke? So, like the sneaky little elves that we are over here at Food Theory, we're diving into the history of Santa's unhealthy relationship with food. Food brands, I should say. His issues with cookies are a whole nother thing. With all the Santa legends out there, it can be hard to discern the real-life origins of this bigger-than-life guy. I mean, you got everything from Krampus, Santa's evil elf who drags bad children away in a sack, to the equally terrifying Santa in claymation from the 1970s. And while I'd love to pawn off the whole invention of Santa onto good old American capitalism, the real origins of the character came from Turkey around 300 AD, where St. Nicholas was, in fact, a real person that constantly gave to the poor. It's worth noting that historians have actually dug up his body at certain points in the past, ultimately concluding that St. Nicholas was not only very unlike his Coca-Cola mascot, he likely wasn't even quote-unquote white like he's so often depicted. According to articles discussing Santa's race, he's more likely to have had the skin tone of, again, a quote here, Osama bin Laden than Coca-Cola Santa Claus.
Alright, okay. Okay.
While Turkish people may come from a lot of different racial backgrounds, since it sits at a crossroads of 3 continents, it's not clear what Santa's heritage really was. But one thing is absolutely sure, he was not fair-skinned, and he definitely didn't have the twinkling blue eyes that he's often depicted with. Regardless, after his death, people celebrated St. Nicholas Day, because he was just that awesome of a guy. And that landed on either December 6th or the 19th, depending on the calendar. And thus, the legend was born. There are a lot of stories about St. Nicholas giving gifts to people in need, but this is a far cry from the Polar Express we're talking about. We think of Santa bringing everything from doll houses to BB guns, but the original legends of St. Nicholas involve him doing things like leaving unmarried women dowries in their shoes so their fathers wouldn't sell them into slavery.
Whoa, wait, what the? Wait a minute. I know that culture change, I know that stories change, myths change, legends change over time, but wow,
Also became a crime stopper. There's one legend where St. Nicholas dreams about a murder that happened at an inn he was visiting, then through his own Nancy Drewing, discovered where the bodies were hidden in a giant vat of pickles, apparently. Wait, is this why we put a pickle in a Christmas tree? Because a giant vat of pickles housed some dead bodies? Am I the only one who does this? Hide a pickle in a Christmas tree and you gotta find it and you get like an extra present? Wait, hold up, let me look it up. Nope, either it's a marketing thing or it's from Germany. Huh, looks like people really don't know where it came from. At this point, for me, I'm just gonna keep this as my own personal headcanon. The original Santa Claus found some dead bodies in a pickle jar and we commemorate it every year by hiding a pickle in a tree. Anyway, he then proceeds to raise our pickled friends from the dead, as you do when you're a saint, and then he went out to free more slaves or something. So why am I setting all this context? Well, first off, I think the stories are funny, but secondly, it's important to understand that the legends of Santa are very old and have had a lot of time to morph and grow over the years.
And if people with benefits, cash, advertisements, commercials, sales, different benefits, different versions of the story will be told.
Which put Santa in a very interesting position when we hit the 19th and 20th centuries, like 1600 years later. Christmas becomes a commercial holiday for the first time with the invention of persuasive advertising. Advertising that doesn't just tell someone a product exists, but rather tries to convince them to buy it even if they didn't think they needed it. Because Santa was known as a generally nice guy, he liked kids, he liked unmarried women about to be sold into slavery, and is squarely in the public domain, it gave every brand a chance at adopting Santa as their mascot, and so they did. Santa's progression in ads from the 19-teens to today followed a path through multiple brands of cigarettes, vacuums, like the iconic Ho Ho Hoover campaign, which is just stupid, why wouldn't it be Ho Ho Hoover? And also, of course, the iconic and longest running Coca-Cola. In most of these ads, many of which predate Coca-Cola's campaign with Santa beginning in the 1930s, you can see that he's already wearing his trademark red getup with white fur trim, even if he sometimes does look a little less than jolly. Thanks for that one, Murad Cigarettes. Look at this ad and imagine the whole, he sees you when you're sleeping. Yeah, you know what? You don't have to get me presents. Just your threatening gaze alone is enough to keep me on the nice list. Do not cross this guy. So, based on all this, it's safe to say that Coca-Cola didn't invent Santa. The Catholic Church in Turkey did that. And they didn't invent his general outfit either. The red suit with white trim existed in ads before Coke got their hands on him. So that then begs the question, why were all these other ads using the colors red and white? How did they all settle on that when the guy up to this point in history was just, you know, a normal, nice dude? Well, in the 1822 poem A Visit from St. Nicholas, also known as The Night Before Christmas nowadays, he's coined to be a jolly old elf. From there, it was political cartoonist Thomas Nast who drew Santa in his signature red suit with fur trim for Harper's Bazaar in 1881, 50 years before Coca-Cola's ad campaign with Santa. Prior to Nast's drawing, Santa was usually depicted as thin, bent over, wearing either green or fur robes. Following
why is he fat?
that 1881 publication, though, the red robes of Santa stuck, except of course in communist Russia, where Stalin made Santa wear blue and give presents for New Year's instead of Christmas because, you know, communism. But why is Thomas Nast's version the one that stuck, and stuck so well that the enormous brands like Macy's and our buddy Coca-Cola adopted him for over 100 years? Well, it's not the joy of giving, let me tell you that. In fact, Santa's looks are based on probably the least jolly thing out there, political propaganda. Let's take a closer look at that depiction of old Saint Nick from 1881. To us, this just looks like a normal picture of Santa,
But having said that, please recognize that 1881 is literally hundreds of years ago. So let's be understanding. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Literally centuries have passed.
The Smithsonian Institute actually helps us interpret the context around this image from when it was published. Thomas Nast, who I probably should mention was actually one of the most prominent political cartoonists in the post-Civil War era. Like, this guy is so iconic, he gave us the Democrat donkey. He drew this image of Santa to criticize the government for not paying fair wages to the military. Yeah, I'm serious. That pack of toys on his back is actually a military pack. You'll notice that he's also wearing a sword, an unusual choice for a charitable saint. His toy horse is actually symbolic of the Trojan horse, representing the treachery of the government towards its own soldiers. He's toting a Union Blue Boy doll, and the pocket watch hanging from his pinky shows a time that's almost midnight, indicating that time is running out for Congress to approve more funding to the military. Yes, really. Nast was a major pro-military Republican during the Civil War, which was also the Union anti-slavery party at the time, just to remind you of that historical context. And so this garish, politically charged version of Santa was so widely published that he became the dominant image of St. Nicholas nationwide from that point forward. By the time Coca-Cola came around 50 years later looking for an image of Santa to base their advertising on, he was right there in front of them. People already had strong emotional feelings around this Santa, who was not only associated with Christmas, but also political messaging around military power.
But having said that, please do recognize that this is 1881. It is very old. Like, to the point which maybe your grandfather's grandfather might not even be born yet, the kind of old, you know, so yeah. I'm sorry.
Nationalism, abolition. So all Coca-Cola had to do was harness those feelings along with a few reindeer to drive the feeling of Christmas, patriotism, and buying Coca-Cola as close together as possible. And for Coke, Santa served as more than just a representation of the good feelings that they wanted to peddle. He also solved a major business problem that they'd been trying to overcome for years. In 1930, they'd been trying to sell people on the idea that Coke was a refreshing beverage to drink in the summer. But when it came to the winter, go figure, an ice-cold soda wasn't catching on, and sub-zero temperatures. So they called in the big man himself for their advertising campaign, Santa Claus, who can be seen pausing on his labor-intensive trip around the world to refresh himself using a Coca-Cola on Christmas Eve. At the time, milk and cookies were just starting to catch on in America as the snack for Santa, which honestly is a whole theory for another day. So Coke wasn't even trying to compete against another entrenched Christmas tradition. It's also worth noting that all of this was in the midst of the Great Depression, where even Coke saw a dip in sales. But
Similarly, the Great Depressions literally hundreds of years ago. So, wait, is it hundreds of years ago? It's 100 plus years ago. So maybe your grandfather's grandfather was not even born yet, that kind of old. So I'm sorry.
never cut spending in the place where it mattered most, marketing and advertising. Their Christmas campaign with Santa leveraged feelings of goodwill that people had toward Christmas but didn't have toward much of anything else at the time. It also took advantage of the one time of year where people would still indulge themselves in a special treat. They couldn't afford to buy cars or houses, but gosh darn it, they could buy a cold Coke. This key advertising move and their refusal to stop pushing Coke even when 20% of America was unemployed is considered one of the boldest and smartest moves in advertising history. As the US came out of the Great Depression, as well as out of Prohibition a couple years later, Coca-Cola was already entrenched with consumers and miles ahead of its competition. Their campaign, titled In Partnership with Santa, was incredibly effective. They came out of the Depression with no debt on their books and actually grew sales throughout the entire 1930s. Santa was one of the first examples of lifestyle branding, advertising not just a product, but the feelings and lifestyle that go with it. Santa was the perfect mascot for the campaign because, like we discussed at the beginning of the episode, he has a massive history and hundreds of legends, but at the end of the day, he's a blank slate for everyone to project their own jolly Christmas feelings onto. And with enough decades of advertising, Coca-Cola has become inextricably linked with the holidays in many countries. From Christmas ornaments to Charlie Brown specials to UK holiday events where people line up just to take a picture with the Coca-Cola holiday trucks. The trucks, people! Did Coca-Cola invent Santa Claus? No, not in any technical sense. His story, his style, even his universe, Mrs. Claus, the reindeer, the North Pole, all of it preceded Coke. And yet it's possible that Coca-Cola actually did something even more sinister. They popularized a commercialized version of him that is so far removed from his origins, it's crazy. Coke's Santa is a far cry from the Saint Nicholas who ransomed people out of slavery. But, you know, at least they're doing it in the name of one of the most sacred holiday pastimes, making a ton of money. So, okay, maybe not the brightest way to end this discussion for the holidays, so let me hit you with something else. In perhaps the most ironic twist of all, while Coke didn't invent Santa, it seems like Santa may have invented another Coke product, Sprite. That's right. You see, in the 1940s, Coke had an issue. They needed people to connect the nickname Coke to the beverage Coca-Cola. And out of this need, Sprite Boy was born. A character with a literal bottle cap embedded into his forehead. Yeah, he's weird. True story, growing up in Medina, Ohio, there was this local grocery store that had a big sign of this guy on their wall for decades. Always kind of freaked me out. Anyway, Sprite Boy was always reminding people that Coke means Coca-Cola. Also, buy war bonds. It's worth noting that the name Sprite Boy actually had nothing to do with Sprite the soda. In fact, Sprite Boy predated the soda by about 20 years. Sprite Boy started around 1942, and Sprite the soda came out in 1961. Instead, when he was named Sprite Boy, it meant sprite, like a nymph, or rather, an elf. In fact, Sprite Boy was designed and drawn by the same guy doing the Santa ads for Coke. They even appeared together in ads for a while. To some extent, Sprite Boy was Santa's elf, and this in turn helped Sprite Boy become popular. Around the same time, Coca-Cola needed a competitor to the growing popularity of lemon lime soda 7-Up here in the US. They had a winning lemon lime drink over in Germany, Clear Lemon Fanta, but they needed a name that would be a slam dunk stateside. And hey, wouldn't you know it, but they had just spent decades building up the popularity and name recognizability of this elf character, Sprite Boy. So why not use that? And thus, the German soda was renamed to Sprite and brought over to the US, only to become one of the top sodas in the world. So there you have it, friends. Coke didn't invent Santa, but Santa in some way invented Sprite, or at least helped give rise to the character that would one day be the reason Sprite is named Sprite. And that, my friends, gets us to the true meaning of Christmas, capitalism. But hey, that's just a theory. A food theory. Bon appetit. If you're interested in more Santa-based conspiracies, click the link that you see on screen right now now to hop on over to our brand new film theory that just launched, where we look into the legal loopholes that Santa's workshop in the North Pole are exploiting so he can use his elf labor force. Yep, it is just as absurd as it sounds. Let me tell you, you're gonna be surprised as to who the true victim is here. Have a great holiday, and I'll see you right before the new year.
Well, anyways, thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you find this video very interesting and just oddly interesting as well. Anyways, if you do like this video, please remember to like, share and subscribe to my channel and comment down below if you have any share of us. Don't forget to follow my channel and I hope to see you all in my next video. But hey, that's just a theory. A full theory. Bon appetit. And I hope to see you all in my next video. Bye. Thank you so much. Subscribe. Thank you.